Francie, but they're recording now.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
They cannot hear us.
Yeah, they can't.
And the reference only had the person who shared.
Ward, Francie, can you hear us?
Whole future was written. That eyelash from his cheek.
Oh, great. This is just.
Diane Foster talking. You want me to do? It's because you told me to click that second button.
I lost sound.
Can you hear us?
Unclick that though. Can you hear them?
Can you hear us now?
Can you guys hear us now?
I can kind of hear now, yeah.
All right, there we go.
We have started.
So we've got a quorum, so we'll go ahead and call the May 3rd regular meeting of Apcha to order. And the first item is roll call, and it is it's a roll call vote. Or a,
Roll call.
yeah.
Okay. John Doyle,
Here.
Carson Schmidt,
Here.
John Ward,
Present.
Ward Hauenstein,
Stein. Present.
Stein. Thank you, Ward. I apologize. Francie Jacober.
I'm here.
I think that Kelly's I think going to join us later, and Allison's going to try to join us later as well.
Great. We will move to public comment. Do you have some public comment? Please come on up. And if you would, just say your name and...
Yeah, Ed Cross, Centennial. Just want to reiterate the situation we're in. We're in a lawsuit with you folks and the city regarding the possible repair to Centennial and the potential for the loss of the deed restriction. We are actual supporters of the housing program and Apcha, and essentially we've been forced into this situation as a result of an executive session around 2014 where the mayor at the time, Steve Skadron, came out of the meeting and basically put us on a one-year time period to walk away from the situation or to file a lawsuit. And I just want to talk a little bit about, first, the untenable situation we as residents are in, whereby I paid around $175,000 for my townhome in 1992, this particular unit, and I'm now essentially being told the repairs are in the range of 10 to 12 million, which has escalated a great deal. And I'm looking at my share being in the range of 180,000 under current costs, which are escalating it all the time. I noticed there's a piece in the paper that appraisals in the Aspen area are up 85% or something. Was on the paper today. And basically, I can only see one way out of this situation, which we've been suggesting for some time, and even if it is precedent setting, certainly should be considered in order to save the program. Because if you guys win the lawsuit, which I don't think you will, by the way, and if we win the lawsuit, the time may have run out and the buildings may have to be demolished at that point. But if whatever happens, it's untenable for us to repair the stuff, and there's an easy fix, in my opinion. You guys fund the fix and get repaid when the units sell in the future. And I just want you to consider that as a possibility, even if it is a precedent. Thanks, gentlemen and ladies.
Thank you, Ed. Okay, not seeing any other public comment, so we will move to the Board of Directors' comments, and we'll start online. Francie, we'll start with you. Francie, do you have any comments?
Oh, we can't hear her. She
Hold on.
I
muted.
asked her to unmute.
You're muted.
I asked her to unmute. She was not unmuting.
Okay, I got it.
There we go.
I can't really hear the room, so that's why I'm not answering when you talk to me. I couldn't hear that, the public comment at all.
John and Ward, could you
Yeah,
hear it?
audio's a little tough on the Zoom. We're clear.
Can you try to turn it?
Can you hear me, or is
Francie's
it
clear, but you guys aren't.
we're not clear? All right.
Is it better?
Testing, test. Is that
Can
any
you hear
better?
us any better?
I can hear you because you're speaking up, but
Who's that? Is that you can hear me or Cindy?
Me.
Cindy, you're a little tough to hear, Carson.
Okay, then it's probably
Anybody a little away
Feeding.
from the microphone, the computer, I'm guessing.
And everybody's microphone is on. Maybe that's it.
yeah. My mic is on. What was that? Well, they're struggling to hear me too. So
We can hear the whispering. Or
Well,
at least
yeah.
Okay,
you
so-
guys
We
are right
can't
by
hear
it.
we can't hear the conversations from the board members.
Can you try to open the settings you had here? Can you try that now?
how's that? Is that any better?
oh, yes.
There we go.
Great. Thank you.
It was this, like, audio out.
All right. So just to sum up, then, sorry you couldn't hear the public comment was just from a Centennial owner, and we can summarize that for the board.
Yes. Yeah. It was Ed Cross, and he just wanted to reiterate that their repairs they think are going to cost anywhere between 10 to 20 million, and it'll cost each homeowner. Gosh, I can't remember what he said.
He said 180 was his share, which is about what he
180,000
paid
just
for his
him.
unit.
And he highly recommends that he had an idea that if we fund the fix, and that when we go to when the unit goes to sell, we can somehow recoup that from the resale of the property of that unit.
Yeah. Thanks, Cindy. Okay, so we're going to move to the board of directors' comments. We'll start online, and Francie, we'll start with you.
I have no comments tonight.
All right. Thank you. And then John Ward,
No comment.
and then Ward.
Well, I understand the problem at Centennial. I don't know how it's an Apcha, how Apcha is concerned, or honestly, there's a lawsuit going on, so I can't comment on it. Don't think it's appropriate to comment on it much. But I think that, from what I heard, there's one solution, and I didn't hear what Ed said was that one solution, but I think what he's saying is that the city should pay for the repairs and that we can recoup them at sale. But that recouping at sales puts them way above what the market price and allowable maximum is for those units. So it's an unfortunate situation. It's under litigation, and I don't have much more to say about it than that.
Thanks, Ward. Thanks, Ward. John, did you have any comments?
No, thanks.
And,
I changed my mind.
Go for
First,
it.
and I would like to make a comment. I was down in Denver this week and a couple of weeks ago, testifying against the two land bills that are out there, the 213, which is specifically a affordable housing bill, and then 1255, which is a anti-growth ban bill. It's a pro-growth bill. Both of them were backed by Polis, and we were in an opposed position on both of them. We worked really hard on 1255. We got signatures on a coalition letter in opposition from a lot of people, including many counties and QQ and CCI and Club 20, and not exactly Polis's favorite organizations, but we got crushed. But I do want to tell you that in the process of all this, we got a lot of very positive feedback from senators and legislators, congressmen, representatives about the affordable housing program that we have here. So that's something.
Good.
Thank you. And I don't have any comments. I guess the only comment that I do have is just sort of following up. Allison had asked about the vacant position on this board for the vacant citizen position. We're approaching a year of a vacancy, so I know there's a focus on trying to get that filled, but we are approaching a year here.
I know that they are interviewing somebody, but I also know that they're having a hard time finding volunteers for a lot of boards out there right now. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. We will move then to the executive director's comments. Matthew.
Hey, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Matthew Young, Executive Director of Apcha. I hope you all saw the Apcha newsletter that went out this week in both English and Spanish. And we will be doing a Spanish language Q&A session on Facebook. We're doing 2 of them in July and August, and so we're very excited about that. And I just wanted to follow up on a few things we discussed last week. We do have the capital maintenance program sessions on the books with the city and the county. I'm sorry, I don't have the dates written down, but it's coming up pretty soon. But we do have those on the books. And we are also preparing a press release for the right-sizing program, which will be released a couple weeks before that goes live as well. And then I had a long chat with our facilitator for the retreat in July, reflecting back your comments from the last meeting. So we're working hard on that. So that's all I've got for this evening. Thank you.
And that's the 19th, correct?
Yes.
July 19th.
Yes.
Okay, Cindy?
Right now, we will, within the next week or two, have quite a few ownership units coming up for sale. So please make sure you sign up for notifications and or contact us, and we can let you know what's going on that. But we've had kind of a dry spell for a little bit, but now it's picking up again. So it's in a lot of different places. So please make sure that you look at the Notify Me part of our website. I'm not sure about rentals. Right now, we don't have any rentals. We still have some vacant units, but we're working through the list that we already had. So, but again, if you are interested in especially a lower income unit like at Aspen Country Inn or T2, and you can contact our office and we can let you know what the maximum is. Most of the ones that we're having issues filling are the 2-bedroom units. So single parents work fine. It's the maximum income for two people is quite low. So when our requirement is to work full time, it's a little bit harder to fill those units. But please contact us if you think that you might qualify for them.
Just out of curiosity, do you see anything driving you said there's a bunch of units coming up for sale. Is there a common theme for any of those,
I'm not sure. I know a couple of, 1 or 2 of them have been compliance ones that we've been following along. And the others, 1 or 2 people have bought free market.
Okay.
And of course, they need to then sell their deed restricted unit, and some people are moving away.
Okay.
We have one that they're retired, and they have grandkids that are not in this state, and they want to go spend time with them, so
Great. Good.
that's it as well.
Glad to hear there will be some units coming up to lottery. Diane, did you have something?
I did. Thanks so much. And sorry, I'm just getting online in a minute, so I'm on my cell phone. I just wanted to give the board a heads up that City Council will be interviewing for the alternate position on the Apcha board on May 15th. And the Apcha team doesn't know that because I just talked to Tori today. And so he wants to schedule those on May 15th. I think the county's scheduling a little bit before that. And as you all know, the best way to recruit an Apcha board member is from people you know who you think might be good on the board. So thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Okay, so we will move along here. I don't believe we have any agenda amendments. And just have one item on the consent calendar, which are the minutes of the April 19th regular meeting.
Is there a motion?
Any discussion on the minutes or a motion to approve?
I'll move.
A motion from John Ward.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay. Carson?
Yes.
Ward Howenstein? Stein? I'm gonna get that
Yes.
right yet. Francie?
Just think it rhymes with wine and it's what you put beer in.
Got it. Francie?
Yes.
Who am I missing? John?
Yes.
Thank you, John.
Okay. So the next item is we've got a election of officer for the vice chair. Skippy was the vice chair, and with his departure, we need to appoint a replacement vice chair. Is there anyone that is interested or would like to make a motion to nominate someone?
Is John Ward interested in this position?
I wasn't a very good chair. I'm not sure I'd make a good vice chair.
Oh, I thought you were a good chair.
Low standards.
You didn't answer my question.
I'd accept the nomination if you nominated me, but I was going to nominate you.
One way or another, you get a ward out of it?
Well, I'm glad you're not nominating Kelly because she is so damn busy.
I bet.
Well, I personally think that it makes sense to have a non-elected official. as,
I agree.
And so I would like to nominate John Ward for that position.
Is there a
I'll
second
go
on?
for John Ward.
Great. Okay, any other nominations? I'll do a vote on that then. Carson?
Yes.
Ward? Howenstein?
Yes.
John Ward?
I get to vote for myself?
Yes, you do.
No, yes.
And
Person, you can't be sick, and no days off, no anything, so.
and Francie?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Well, moving, we're ahead of schedule here. Ben, we have Ben from the city to talk about a presentation of proposed changes to the Affordable Housing Credit Program.
Did you need us to put up the slides?
You know, I didn't bring any slides.
Okay.
You only gave me 10 minutes, Cindy, so I was trying to keep it.
Did I?
He's coming.
I did not.
He's down there for a long time.
No, I thought I'd spare you all from some slides. We can do this quickly. Unless you want to talk about it, which I can stay all night. So for the record, Ben Anderson, Deputy Director of Community Development at the City of Aspen. And I've come to you a few times as the city's contemplating code changes that intersect with Apcha's interests, and that's really the point of the conversation this evening. We've been talking with City Council for some time about the Affordable Housing Credits Program. I know that Mr. Ward has generously given his time to talk to our consultant team that we've been working at with a design workshop. But we've had lots of conversations with folks in the development community about how we could make the credits program more attractive and ultimately produce more units out of the private sector. And I think the credits program is a complicated thing. I think it's also something that is proprietary to Aspen, and so we don't have a lot of models to look elsewhere for best practices. And so it's often a response from us when we're proposing changes to what we're seeing in the housing market. And so we've had some conversations with council, and we anticipate coming back to them in June or July with an ordinance with some proposed changes. But I just wanted to fill you in on some of the things that are, I think intersect pretty directly with Apcha's interest. The first is that we're going to be proposing allowing for the issuance of affordable housing credits for RO units. Currently, it's limited to category units, and we've heard pretty consistently across the community that there's demand for RO units, and I think important to the development community, they're units that can make affordable projects pencil out. Without the kind of revenue coming in from RO units, a straight category project is often difficult to make pencil out. Similarly, we're going to be proposing that dormitory units and co-housing designed units could also qualify for issuance of affordable housing credits. Currently, going down to studio is the kind of smallest unit that we can deal with, and going to something like a co-housing model is not something that the code's really structured to deal with, and so we're going to be proposing some allowances for those types of unit types to qualify.
Hey, Ben?
Yes.
You mind?
Please.
What's your definition of co-housing?
So I think that's a great question, and I'm sorry to use jargon. It's a model where, and I think SKICO's built some units like this, and in university towns, for student housing, this is a really common model of housing where you have a fairly robust common area that includes a kitchen and living room that's surrounded by bedrooms that can be independently rented, that lock off from the common space that can be kind of individually rented.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there's a project in Silverthorne like that we looked at probably 2 months ago that's very similar.
Yeah.
Like Silverthorne's putting up a bunch of money on it.
If you go to towns with universities, it's really been the dominant type of multifamily that's been proposed and built in the last 5 to 10 years.
Believe me, I pay rent at a university of the same type of structure. So.
Yeah.
So the ski company hub has units like that, 4 small bedrooms and a larger common area.
Okay.
And right now, I think we've had some interest from some stakeholders who have looked at their housing needs for their employees and have suggested that, if those types of units were, could qualify for the credits program, that there might be some interest in that. The third thing is we want to make sure that, I think when the program was created, there was an interest to really have this be purely private sector development of affordable housing. And I think as the dynamics in town have changed, and across our spectrum of employers, their need to house their employees have changed, and so we understand pretty clearly that there's nonprofits, there are quasi-governmental organizations like the school district, like AVH, who technically have again a kind of quasi-governmental quality to them, that those kinds of organizations are currently precluded in the land use code from pursuing a credits program, and so we're opening that up and giving clarity to what that would look like. And then the last two that I think have some real opportunity for partnership with Apcha as we respond to some of the things that I think we all agree are some of the issues within our current program. On the expiring deed restriction topic that we have in some of our units, we've been approached by developers who are interested in redeveloping, particularly rental properties that have expiring deed restrictions, to pursue a redevelopment project where they would take their units and either reconfigure internally what those units are like, or tear a building down and come up with a new configuration for deed restricted units. To use the credits program within a plan development process to kind of negotiate what an appropriate number of credits for whatever that redevelopment project looks like. But again, right now, the code is really prescriptive about what we can issue, and it doesn't really apply to kind of redevelopment projects with expiring deed restrictions. So we want to build in that kind of flexibility if a developer wanted to do something like that. And then lastly, and this is if we're going to do anything with this, I think it would certainly be in partnership with Apcha. But while we were kind of opening the code up and these types of things, we're also interested in allowing for affordable housing credit issuance to encourage mobility within the program. And so this could be a tool that could be used eventually in the right sizing program. It could be used in mobility to give incentive for folks that are currently in category units that might want to go up to an RO unit or go up to a free market unit that would get out of their category unit that they're sort of currently in. And so coming up with some parameters, the change in the land use codes would simply allow that to happen. How that would happen, what the value of those kinds of things, I think would really be up to Apcha about the kind of incentives that they would want to give into those kinds of programs. But while we have the code open on these purposes, we thought that might be a good thing to open up. One of the things that we heard very clearly in our stakeholder comments that I just wanted to be clear that we're not going to be pursuing at this time. We know very much that one of the big obstacles to the credits program being as effective as it possibly can is that the kind of traditional lending institutions that finance affordable housing projects have no ability to understand or guarantee the value of the credits. We hear that over and over again. I think that those were comments that we received very clearly from John Ward when our consultant team talked with him, and I think he had some good ideas that were shared with us indirectly with the consultant team. But for the city to get involved to try to guarantee the value of that would, I think, ultimately involve the city's 150 fund. And right now there's just there's a lot of interest in using the 150 fund for a lot of different priorities that we have around affordable housing, most notably the lumberyard, but I think land banking and a lot of other things that have been clearly established as priorities. And I just don't think that we're ready yet to assign some number of dollars out of the 150 fund in support of guaranteeing the value of credits. That may change. We're going to be hearing from council, and some of their new priorities with the new council members. But at this time, we're not pursuing the city coming in and guaranteeing the value of credits, or buying credits, which has been suggested as a tool. So anyway, I just want to let you know it's still on our kind of frontal lobe. We want to do something about it, but at this time, we're not going to be pursuing those kinds of interventions in the credits market. So on the credits topic, that's kind of the nature of my comments. I just want to let you know that the council is going to be considering those changes to the land use code in the next few months. Happy to answer any questions. Happy to talk further if you've got other ideas. But at this moment, that's kind of the extent of things that we're proposing for change.
Thanks, Ben. Any questions for Ben?
Ben, do you plan to go through the wilderness workshop memo at all, or is that just for our own consumption?
Oh, the design workshop? It was
design workshop.
It was a little bit of background information. I mean, I think if you have questions about it, I can talk a little bit about it. But the heart of it, I think, is their analysis of why the RO idea is a good one, why the dorm and co-housing idea is a good one, and to give some indication of how we might value credits that would be assigned for those kinds of unit types is really the heart of that memo.
Yep.
So it was just to include as information, but if you have questions about it, happy to talk about it.
Francie?
Yeah, but Diane's hand has been up for a while.
Diane, did
Diane,
you? I think that was from her last comments.
Okay. So if you guarantee the value of the housing credits, would that actually require the spending of money?
Ultimately, I think yes. Whether it be through some sort of bonding mechanism, we've talked with folks in the lending industry to understand what kinds of guarantees that they would need so that in a project's pro forma they had a good idea of what the revenue stream was going to be coming in from credits. And whether it be a bonding mechanism or whether it be the city guaranteeing that if nobody was out in the market to buy the credits at a particular time, that the city would step in to buy credits, it would be the assignment of some dollar figure in support of those outcomes. We've heard some other kind of creative ideas that didn't involve money, but I think the things that are most obvious to us involve the commitment of dollars to make sure that folks understood what these things were worth.
But that would be a floor, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The city'd come in, I mean, on a guarantee of a floor.
Yep.
The scary part, I think, with credits is that, they're needed until they're not.
That's
So
right.
you gotta pair a project with somebody that needs the credit, and so there might be high market level at some point, depending on supply and demand.
Yeah.
But at some point, if you wanted to lend against them or have some kind of value, it'd be nice to have a floor, but market demands, maybe the market outpaces the need for that. So.
Yeah, and I think those kinds of dynamics are difficult to predict for sure. I will say in the history of the program, they've generally tracked almost identically with our fee and lieu numbers that we have as our mitigation requirements. But we have heard some indications of folks trading them either above or below that number, depending on what's going on in the market. But even if I think even if it were a floor. I do think that there'd be some necessary pool of financial resources to back up that floor.
Ward?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my video off, my bandwidth, I don't think supports video and audio, but my comments on the whole credit program and participation is that it's for mitigation. And I would like to see public-private partnerships that create housing that could be somehow subsidized or enhanced that don't require mitigation. Because if we make a housing credit available for an FTE, it means that somebody has created the need for an FTE, and we're mitigating that 60% of that. So even if we create a housing credit, we're losing, say, 40%. So I've expressed this over the years that I'm not I would support 150 funds being used in conjunction with a private developer to create workforce housing, and particularly if it wasn't to mitigate for more job creation.
Ward, you bring up an interesting concept. Why couldn't the city look at the 150 fund a bit like a tax credit deal where, there's a private partnership, the city comes in with a certain tax credit, and maybe you have certain units that are restricted, and then certain units are free market. The hard part for a developer today is, costs have all gone up, your cost of money's gone up. And when you do a restriction on rents in a rental rental scenario, those rents, depending on the percentage of units, really drag down the pro forma of the free market, what makes it really hard for that project then to cash flow, to service debt, basically at a bank passing debt service number.
And this is with rent restrictions, particularly at the lower categories.
Yes.
But a rent, if somebody, if it wasn't categorized and the rents weren't subsidized, there's an undying market for rentals. So I think I don't know what you have to do to make the pro forma look profitable, but if we're creating units, if we're creating workforce housing beds, and we don't have to build them all through our 150 fund, if we're getting a private developer an opportunity to put some skin in the game and make some profit, and we being the city, don't have to contribute to it 100%. I mean, it's going to be less to build a unit that's been subsidized through a 150 fund and a private developer than it is to build a whole unit at the lumber yard.
Well, I think we're saying the same thing. I think there's a way to do it. There's a good model out there to do something.
But Ben, direct answer to you, aren't all of the housing, and this is a leading question, I'll try to form it a different way, are all housing credits predicated on workforce housing mitigation due to developments.
Yes, I mean, the program is entirely built on our mitigation program. And I think we've had multiple conversations with council. I think former councilman, woman Richards, and I think council member Hohenstein as well, have raised this topic. Skippy raised this topic on council as well, is this idea that our affordable housing program is, and the mitigation that's required, is entirely related to new growth and new pressures on our town. And so I think, staff has certainly heard those comments, and I think the whole sort of foundation of that system is now 45 years in the making. And I think there's been this expectation that growth has translated into new affordable housing. And I think to disconnect that relationship is a fairly major change. And the whole program is based on mitigation requirements.
Well, but you guys, a credit's not created without a unit, right?
That's correct. It gets issued at CO. The credit does. But then the market for that credit and the value of that credit is coming from someone who needs to mitigate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure where this fits in the context of Apcha. I've got a pretty good idea where it fits in with city council, but city council, in essence, the city is financing and doing the development of workforce housing. And anytime that we create a new need through development that requires mitigation, we're losing ground on housing employees. So if it means that we have a different outlook, Ben, I think I would support an outlook that would create more housing to make a dent in what the demand is, than creating more of a demand in for every housing credit we create, or every FTE through a housing credit, we're losing 0.4% of an employee housing unit.
Yeah.
If I made myself clear, I don't know.
No, I think so. I think it's ultimately a determination then about the sort of mitigation rate at which we expect folks to mitigate for new development. Right now, you're correct. It's at 100% for residential. It's at 60%, 65% for new lodge and commercial development. But in essence, you're correct.
Well, I think this is important work, and anything that the city can do through the planning department to try and encourage private development of affordable housing. That's certainly something I support. Any other questions or comments for Ben? Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. And if any of you have individual questions, please reach out.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
Okay, so we're a little bit ahead of schedule here. We'll go ahead and go to the last item on our agenda, the discussion on changing categories for Smuggler Run.
And I know that there are going to be some homeowners that are going to be here. We are ahead of schedule. I know they're on their way, and they should be in here for in a few minutes.
Is this related to the Shamey?
It does have, it started with that, with them purchasing and then replacing that mobile home because they didn't have a choice. And
But
putting a
we've
new
kind
home
of
in there.
had discussions on this already.
We've
or
we've
so
talked a
months
little bit about this. And I did meet with a lot of the members of the homeowners association to take this forward. And one of the concerns was, do all homeowners have to agree to go under a new deed restriction and add category 5? Can it be per an owner to do that? And Jim True and Diane Foster and I and we are no longer doing public comment. We're done with public comment. and I met with Barry and Steve Arthur, who's another owner there, with regards to what can we do with Smuggler Run. There's 17, basically there's 17 mobile homes there. Well, there's 17 lots there, and because there are some actual homes there, and it's a park that's right next to Smuggler Park. Smuggler Park subdivision has 87 units on theirs, and they're all trees, cottonwood, maple, oak. And Smuggler Run is on Ajax. And Jim True looked through all the documents along with Tom Smith, and they felt that going up to a higher category could be per owner. It doesn't have to be approved for the whole association. And because some of the people that were at that homeowners meeting were kind of wanted to keep it the same, and others were really interested in this because of the work that they need to do with their property. Most of the homes there are not on a permanent foundation. It also does sit on a Superfund site. So we feel that by allowing people to really have a little bit more funds to put a new home on the property, if they wanted to do that, we would get a more long-lasting project with these 17 homes.
Ward, did you have something on this?
Yeah, I did. First of all, I need a point of clarification. This is a funny little subdivision, and do all of those homeowners, do they own the land now, or are they renting the land? I think that was the crux of the matter with the Smuggler, was that they didn't own land. Do they?
No, they own the land underneath. It's a subdivision. Just like
Okay.
Smuggler Park subdivision, they're all subdivided, and each owner owns the land underneath their home.
Okay, so my questions on reading this were, would this recategorization occur only at redevelopment?
No, this is something that we would allow somebody, if they wanted to go under a new deed restriction now, we would allow them to go under a new deed restriction now.
And what does the community gain by a new deed restriction?
Well, some of the property there is not in perpetuity. What you also gain is somebody might be more interested in actually putting a brand-new home on the property with the foundation. So you're gaining something that's gonna last a heck of a lot longer than a trailer that's been on there for 30-something years.
Yeah, I think obviously a trailer that's been on, and I think it was 16 Ajax, I can't remember exactly what
Yes.
the number was, got upside down and had problems, and the finances on it just don't work out. This, if we change it from a category 4 to a 5, how does that, what are the impacts
miss
on the
somebody
future
else. You need to
owner
look at that.
and for capital gains / appreciation? So if somebody they bought as a category 4, it gets reclassified as a category 5, then their appreciation has jumped a whole category level, I think.
No, what happens is that when they go under a new deed restriction, we take what their value is at that point in time, which they've been taxed on, and that's where they start getting with the new appreciation. So if somebody who bought a home for $100,000, today it's now in our system for $200,000, they want to go under a new deed restriction. The new deed restriction starts at that $200,000 mark, and then it goes, and then what'll happen is if they decide to put a new home on there, they would be able to go up to the category 5 maximum single-family home price. It's whatever they spend or that whichever is less. Does that make sense? So it doesn't, they don't get, they're not getting any capital gains on that.
Well, if they bought it for 100K and they sold it right now at 200K, there's a $100,000 appreciation. That's a capital gain. Is that
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, but that's it if they would go to sell.
But, okay, so now if they recategorize to 5 and their value is 200K, you know, what's the maximum sale price for a category 4 versus a category 5?
I wish I had that and I don't. It's like between 468,000 versus 625,000, something like that is the difference between category 4 and category 5. But again, if they just go under a new category and it's just appreciating at 3% or CPI, when they go to sell it, they would get obviously capital gains, but depending on what their mortgage or whatever is. But it's not going to be that 600 and something thousand if they didn't put the money in to get up to that high. Does that make sense? And if they did, then more than likely they might have a mortgage that they would have to pay off anyway, and the capital gains is the what they sell it for minus what they have to pay.
Yeah, I'd really be interested in what other, you know, John being a banker and Carson interested in what your how you digest.
We lost everything. What happened? Oh my God. You need to get off it. Oh, this is awful. Can you shut down, did you shut it down?
No, I never. How does that even happen?
It was that Grant dude. Roger, oh my God. Can you, hold on. We gotta get him out of there. Remove.
That was shocking.
Yes.
Okay, hold on.
Recording in progress.
I'm recording, sorry.
Well, now we have to remember that. Yeah.
Maddie just texted me, how is it going?
He didn't respond to that. Yeah, I don't want to tell her.
What do you want?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was 431 versus
Right.
675. So I was close, kind of. Yeah. So I do know that we have quite a few owners at Smuggler Run. If you want to take any comments from some of these
Okay.
owners.
He's recovering.
I know.
Deep breath. All right.
And we probably need to somehow report that to the police too. But we can work on that tomorrow.
So just so I understand, so I mean the ask here is for the board to approve the recommendation to allow the owners to enter into these updated deed restrictions with a Category 5 designation if they so choose. It's not automatic. There's no action required by any owner to maintain their current deed restriction, and this would just be if they were interested in signing a new deed restriction to a Category 5, correct? Okay.
Correct.
Which gives them more flexibility. Which gives them
It-
more
it-
flexibility.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so we don't. I mean, I guess we have time here for we don't have public comment scheduled. It does look like we have quite a few owners. I mean, I'd be curious to hear. Maybe if we
Barry's
just-
the president of the RHOA.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm sorry I missed what's transpired so far. dating back to like October or November, Cindy and I started discussing our small subdivision of mobile homes moving to a different category. The background for that is these units are just on the cusp of 40 years old and relatively past their useful life. The opportunity for any current owner or new buyer to replace their unit would simply be lost to them in the future. The idea behind this truly isn't, there's no windfall. And Cindy and I have talked about this, that there is no, that it's a win. It allows current owners, it would allow current owners to move their top dollar from around $420,000 into Category 4 to about $650,000. So a current owner could hope to replace their unit and stay within that threshold. But particularly, we have numerous nearly retirees, and who knows if they're going to stay in the area. Should they sell, almost all new owners would want to replace what they have there or very significantly modify.
Okay.
I'm also a homeowner, and I'd love to hear, we have two people here. One is currently looking at replacing their home, and another one has replaced his home. And we have another person on Zoom who has replaced her home. I would like to find out top dollar what it costs them to replace their homes, and if moving to Category 5 would allow them to recoup any of the funds that they have spent so far.
I just want to make sure I understand. So, I mean, I guess, I mean, we can certainly, we can have a bunch of public comment, people in support in this. I mean, I'm curious for the board. I mean, to me, this sounds like, I mean, this is something I'm supportive of. I mean, this seems like a win. I'm just kind of curious where the rest of the board is. I see Kelly has joined us. Hi, Kelly. John, Francie, Kelly, Ward, anybody with comments on this?
I have a question. So I'm obviously coming in late. My apologies for any repetition, but would the category change happen upon replacement of the unit?
It would happen at the time that they would want to make the decision to go under a new category. So if you feel that this is a good way to go, and we give direction to them that if any owner there wants to now decide to go under a new category at 5, they can go ahead and do it at that point in time. But no matter what it'll do is if in the future they go to sell, it's a Category 5, and so the new owner would have more of an ability to put a new home on it because it would be a higher price that they could work up to. And that's the main thing for this, is it's not automatic where somebody can sell at that high top Category 5 price. It gives them the ability to be able to do more with that property because they have from $431,000 up to $675,000 that they can actually put a new home on there and be able to recoup their costs.
So I'm just not sure I still understand. So to me, it makes sense that if they put a new unit on there, then we would put them up into the Category 5 so that when they resell it, they're recouping that investment, right? But
right.
So is that how we're understanding it? So someone isn't going to move to a higher category with the unit that they're currently in, or the next person who buys it from them aren't going to move to a higher category for the same unit that they're buying, which is currently a Category 4. Is that correct?
If somebody would go to sell their unit now, we would put the new person under the new deed restriction at a Category 5. And what that does, that allows that person the ability to do up to that maximum amount. It gives them more capital improvements possibly to work with as well. It's by allowing somebody to go under a new category, It's all it's going to do is whether they want to do the work or the person down the line wants to do the work, it gives them the ability to go up to that high of a value and put a new home on the property.
Yeah, but it doesn't, there's no requirement or incentive then. If a new person buys the same home but can get more, a higher price out of it.
They're not going to
that
get
doesn't
it. They're
mean
going to get the
gonna-
price that the person can sell it for. They're not going to sell it. An owner's home appreciates at a certain amount. When that person goes to sell, it's that appreciated amount that the next person buys. And then whoever buys on that, they have, that either current owner would have the ability to put a brand new home on there and add it and go up and have the ability to go up to that 675 or not. If they
We don't
don't,
have, like, there's no maximum price, right? So.
there is a
category
there's a
three
maximum
appreciate-
price of category 5.
But no, I'm just saying, category 3s or category 4 is appreciating at X, right?
Correct.
And those owners, but they're not coming up to a ceiling at some point saying you can't sell it for this.
Correct.
So if we go to category 5, that appreciation still continues to happen. There's no ceiling, there's no stop. But if they go in and drop in 300 grand on a new champion home or something and tear the old trailer out, they could potentially, they start appreciating at now their cost plus, really it's their cost all the way around, right?
Well, it's their cost. Right now, it would be their cost or 675,000, whichever is less.
Max.
So if their house is worth 300,000 now, and they put 250,000 in it, then it would be 550. It would not be the 675. They would have to provide us with all their costs so that we could then value what that property is.
But if they're 475 and they spend 300, they lose 25.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Ward?
Yeah, I just want to be clear on this. I think Kelly and I are thinking along the same lines here that somebody owns it as a category 4 now, and they sell it, and their sale price is a maximum of their purchase price plus the 3% or, the appreciated price over the number of years that they've owned it. And in your example, you say it's appreciated in its value. Maximum sale value is now 200,000. Is that correct? That the maximum sale value of a category 4 would be purchase price plus appreciation over the period of time?
Correct.
And if there was a category 5, it would still be the purchase price plus the appreciation.
Correct.
Okay, but we keep hearing from the situation at Centennial, and how does this not have some kind of an implication on another development saying, well, we want to raise our categories from 3 to 5 or 4 to 5? And Carson, in direct answer to your question, I'm kind of beating around the bush here, is I think this would be a good thing for the people that are affected by this. And it is a delisted Superfund site because I'm on the, and I don't know if I have to recuse myself. I'm within 300 feet of this.
So it's delisted now?
Yes.
I know that some of them have been. Okay.
But so the implications on other developments is one question.
Well, this is also a unique property where it's mobile homes. There's the other place that's similar to this is Woody Creek. Woody Creek is a category 5, single-family homes, and they're trailers. So there is basically a precedent out there for single-family home trailer parks.
And Matthew or Cindy or somebody, since I live within 300 feet, I didn't receive any kind of notice on this. Do I have to recuse myself from this?
No, because this is something that it's a category change, it's a deed restriction. It's not something that, I mean, we can check with Tom, but I'm sure that it's something that, no, you shouldn't have to recuse yourself on this.
There's no conflict, Ward.
If you live there, I would say yes, but you don't live there.
Okay.
Can I respond to?
Steve might have some clarification on.
I think I can help answer a few
Go
of
ahead.
the questions that were just asked. I'm Steve Arthur. I'm Vice President of the Homeowners Association.
Is the light on? Will you make sure the light's on in the mic?
The light is on.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Vice President of the Smuggler Run Homeowners Association. Barry is the president. And number one, most other, and I think all other, associations of deed restricted housing within the city limits are part of they're either condos or something similar, single family homes. Ours are mostly mobile homes, and when improvements are made, if a new roof is needed in most other deed restricted housing, there's an association that will have a special assessment, or they have funds available to help pay for that in most cases. With us, each individual homeowner is responsible for all the major things that can go wrong in a home. And they are limited with their category into as far as what they theoretically could get back for capital improvements. We have many homeowners in our subdivision that are older, they've been there a long time, and would choose not to replace their homes, or they might not have the funds to replace their homes. But they feel they're comfortable and they may want to make some capital improvements. And with going to Category 5 now, for those people, they can make those capital improvements that are approved by Apcha. And even though they depreciate over time, if they choose to sell, they could get back those capital improvements. And that's the incentive to keep up your place. If people feel they can't get the money back out at the end, there's no incentive for them to improve their properties, and they could just deteriorate even more. These are mostly 40-year-old trailers. And we want to incentivize people to either maintain them or replace them. And in some cases, I don't believe they can be maintained for too much longer, because the useful life is certainly less than 40 years of an old trailer. But now people can make improvements with the possibility of being able to add that on should they choose to sell, although some of these people will probably stay there, until they can no longer live in Aspen.
Right.
So that's part of the incentive to go to Category 5 now, so that those people that want to make these improvements can make them, and they have an incentive. They're incentivized to make them because they can add that on. The way the system has been up until now is some people, previous owners, and it's no fault of current owners who bought into a bad situation. They bought an old trailer because we all know the housing situation here. They wanted to be in Aspen, and they bought an old trailer that previous owners had let dilapidate. And now those people don't have the funds to put on a new one or do major repairs, and if they somehow could obtain those funds, they want to be able to get it back, because previous owners sold these units. No one had to do anything previously, right. And these places just deteriorated, and someone else was sort of almost forced to buy in, because it's so hard to live in Aspen and get a place with a place that right. needed major work. And there was no incentive for the new owner to do the major repairs.
Right.
Going to Category 5 allows that.
Yeah. Right. Understood. I mean, this is a. I mean, this is not an uncommon problem. So I'm going to go real quick here, Diane, and then John Ward.
Thanks, Carson. And Carson, I think we forgot to tell you that we invited Steve and Barry and the owners to come, because this request comes from them. And staff spent a lot of time on this over the past few months, and so we're bringing it on behalf of them. So thanks for hearing from them. So just a couple of framing points. Staff likes this because this may do what the board wanted to do with Woody Creek mobile home parks. The difference being there's no cash out of pocket for Apcha, the city or county on this one. And Kelly, to your point about, why wouldn't we do this only if they replace the unit? What this really does is provides that opportunity. Not only maybe they've got a mobile home that just needs some significant investment and doesn't have to be replaced, and it's putting it out there as you can go ahead and do this. And I think it's important to remember, we're not saying these are going to RO, they're going to a capped category 5. So thank you, I appreciate that.
Thanks, Diane. John Ward. John, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. I debate whether, that's the old guy in me. I debate whether to say this, and I'm supportive of doing this, but a lot of this stuff, capital improvements, what do we, I don't deem a roof a capital improvement. I believe you got a unit, you got an affordable housing unit, you were lucky enough to get them like all of us were, and you have some stewardship in the program to take care of your property. And so I think it's important, what are we labeling capital improvements for appreciation purposes, for maintenance? I mean, because most of the stuff I hear Steve talking about is maintenance. And to me, maintenance is something, I take care of my house every day, and I expect when I turn it over to the next person, I'm turning over a property that's in okay shape. Now, we have a lot of owners don't live that way. But, I mean, I think we've got to put some collars around what we allow for this change in category, and probably some, we can't just bring another aluminum trailer in. I mean, we should be able to do, modular or something where we're upgrading or improving the stock, if that makes sense.
And I think that's what we're looking at. When you're talking about roofs, one of the things that sometimes we will give credit for is if a property is very old and they're updating their roof with something that is more energy efficient, which in some of these cases it is. And so
all of them probably, because they're probably, right? Every
Right,
single one
right.
of them, you're going to improve the insulation factor.
And what we'll do is anytime anybody comes forward with some type of a capital improvement, we will look at it to see, does it make sense for somebody to go ahead and do that? Or will it make more sense to just kind of wait and see if we can get a new home on that property?
I mean, because this does act like Diane said is what we wanted to do at Woody Creek.
Mm-hmm.
But why don't we just wait to sell them and take our right of first refusal, buy the property, and then replace it?
We would be stuck we would also have to stick by the category 4 sales price.
Okay.
Shelley.
Thanks. I'm totally willing to do this for owners that are looking to replace, their unit when it reaches end of life, or, close to there or whatever. Because I know people take really good care of their units, and they still reach a point with mobile homes that they reach an end of life in a way that stick-built and condo complexes don't have to, or just don't by their condition. So, I feel supportive of that, and I feel supportive of figuring out, because these are owners who want to, they want to do this while they're still living there. They're not looking to do this so somebody else can move in. So I'm totally willing in figuring out what they need to make work as far as getting the financing to do that, what they need from Apcha to indicate that, yes, we're going to let you recoup that additional investment. Where I hesitate is to just do it for everyone who doesn't, not everyone may plan to do that extensive of a replacement or a repair. So they sell at a category 4, the next owner comes in and now has a category 5, yet they don't do anything. There's no incentive for them to do anything now. That incentive lives with the current owner right now. under the current deed restriction, not for the next owner who just got a higher category deed restriction without having to make that investment. So that's the situation that I want to avoid, because I do think there really is an equity issue here with how we deal with, you know, our HOAs and the folks who are living. You know, Hunter Creek could come to us and say, hey, I want to do all this internal improvement to this really old place, and I want you to let my category go up because now I've made it nicer, I've made it more livable, I've made it better for the next person. All very good arguments, but you know, we're not looking to go down that path. I don't think. We're looking to figure out ways where it can be more equitable across the system. So that's where I would feel comfortable in having this progress, and to figure out sort of the administration of it and the point of time where that deed restriction changes to make it the easiest for the current owners who want to do this work.
Thanks, Kelly, and welcome to Allison. Allison, did you have anything on this?
Yes, thank you. Sorry to be hopping in late and for any boarding announcements in the background there. I saw that this is solely at the board discretion. Is this the kind of thing where we would have a first and second reading? Are we trying to?
No, there's no first and second reading on this. It's just an approval from the board that we need to move forward. That's it.
Well, the city has to ultimately issue that, right? So
No,
we're making
they
a
do not.
recommendation?
According to Jim True, the approval is with the board.
And we're looking to decide that now.
Boarding group number 3 through the green lane, welcome aboard. Boarding group 3 through.
She's in San Francisco at the airport.
Lincoln Airport.
Where are you going, Allison?
I'm escaping.
Board, did you have comments on this?
Yeah, and again, I'm sorry, I just need to get straight in my head. I want this to benefit the current owners, but if they sell, they're selling at the maximum category 4 appreciated price over time that they've had it. The person that's buying it is buying a category 5 at the maximum sale price of it appreciated. So they're, in Cindy's example, somebody's buying let's say a $200,000 category 5 unit. They're buying it at a 5 at an appreciated category 4. So the next owner is the one that is, in Barry said it's not a windfall. It's not a windfall to the current owner, but
It's not a windfall for anybody.
But
there's no cap.
There is a cap. There's no windfall for anybody in this program.
Cindy, if somebody buys a category 4 at $200K, but it's already been upgraded to a category 5, and the minimum sale price of a category 5 is more than they're paying for it.
I don't think there's no minimum. There's
not a minimum.
So, Ward, I think the only way that somebody would get the maximum price on the category 5 would be if they spent that amount of money plus the appreciation. So, I mean, it would have to be that they put that money in, and so hopefully there, in that case, you would have, a brand new property that had just had significant capital expenditures into it, right?
Right.
I mean, so
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think. I mean, I think. I think in looking at this, I mean, I think I do share some of Kelly's concerns just about if we did have a 40-year-old property and somebody goes in and puts $150,000-$200,000 into a 40-year-old property on a depreciating asset, how much useful remaining life are we really buying is kind of my thought on that. So personally, I do like the if somebody's looking to replace it or stick build out, I'm supportive of that. I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe,
Can I?
Yeah.
Make a
How many
comment on
people
that?
do you think are
We have-
interested in, if this were to move forward, is there anybody that's interested in a full replacement?
Most of,
We
Yeah.
have someone that actually has looked into Brittany here. She's looking to replace the home and she looked into every.
We need
single-
somebody up here
You have to
if
come
you're
up
gonna
here.
talk.
Yeah. Because the numbers are
Just
high.
go over here.
I mean, sometimes
Right.
if you really
Okay,
look
you wanna
into
sit
it,
here?
not even category
Okay.
5 will be enough to recoup that money, so.
So I think the confusion a little bit is it is easing the gap when you spend the money. You're not getting a free bump up to category 5 and all of a sudden getting that free additional appreciation because of the bump. It's only if you put the money in. So myself and Tom are the owners of 16 Ajax Avenue. We bought our house for $250,000. It is non-livable. There's a lot that has to be done. If we were to replace it with another trailer that is not on a foundation, just a new trailer, it would be at a bare minimum $300,000. That does not address the retaining wall that needs repair. It doesn't address the water main that is currently turned off after the 2 pipes burst the past 2 winters. That would be on top of it. So even if we just replace it with a trailer, we are looking at estimates, if everything goes right, of at least $350,000. We bought our house, we bought the land for $250,000. If we stay in category 4, we cannot afford to do the updates to make it livable for us or for the next buyer without someone eating a huge burden. So we would like to replace ours with a modular. Regardless of that, even if we just did trailers, the numbers don't work if we stay in category 4.
Right.
So there's other owners who have put tremendous improvements into their houses as well, and they've already eaten the burden because they've met the max prices and they've inherited their homes that had foregone maintenance that other owners didn't take care of. And there's multiple of us on the street.
For the record, could you please state your name for the record?
My name's Brittany Shammy.
Thank you.
And if I can make one more comment in regard to this subject, we have some homeowners that have said they're long time homeowners, original homeowners, that have said that they personally have really put money in their home to maintain it for 30 years or more. And they don't feel that they, they're not leaving anytime soon, and they don't feel that they, in their opinion, that they need a new home. Okay? And so, and there are other homeowners that purchased a property that was in disrepair when they bought it. Mm-hmm. And they need substantial improvements, but maybe they can't afford to put the new home. And so they need some incentivization for them to do that major repair that's a lot less than a new home to make it livable. Yes, I agree, it would be nice to have a beautiful new home on all these properties, but it's not in the cards for most working people. And but it could be in the cards for some of these people to do enough capital improvement to make it livable until such time as perhaps a future owner could replace that home. So I just wanted to make those comments.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to hear from Allison and Kelly, and then just kind of check in with everybody where we are on this. So Allison, go ahead.
Yeah, hi Brittany. I didn't see you in the room there. So I guess the issue is that the person needs the money personally to make any improvements whatsoever, and if they're gonna, live out their days, they actually kind of never recoup. It doesn't feel to me like it's a grab in that way. So I think I'm on the hesitant side as well, just for the reason of us having a variety of categories throughout our stock, including our freestanding homes, which are all rising categories in RO. So those people who aren't earning as much, this feels like a good option for somewhat lower of the higher categories to have that. So I'm wondering if we're making kind of a one-time exception, it might be a 2-for-1 to not be precedent setting, because of course, the issues you're talking about are true even in a condo, right? That you'll put more money in than the 3% back and make it nice for the next person, and kind of just know you're not, we don't live here for profit, if there's one other way, I kind of feel like I want one more beat to think about a different system than permanently changing to category 5, that these, as they come up and as they apply, kind of have that resale category jump as a one-time. I don't know exactly how to keep it Cat 4 and help improve those 17 lots, but I do think there's valuable in keeping it category 4, yet finding some way to incentivize some of those improvements.
Thank you, Allison. Kelly?
I'm gonna just look to my board members to help me work through this a little bit, but I was trying to think through this from like the buyer's side. You know, like what are the implications from people who want to go in the lottery for one of the units in this neighborhood? You know, obviously moving it up to category 5 limits the pool of purchasers to category 4 and category 5. Whereas right now they can be category 3 and 4. You know, is there any positive or negative ramifications to moving to a category 5 and having someone come in who is either purchasing a replaced unit or an improved unit or an old unit? That we should think through as we're talking about this.
The only thing that I can say is with regards to the work that needs to be done on these, it's going to get harder and harder for a category 3 person to afford it. That's all I can say.
Well, I mean, I think it's, you know, the category 4 and 5. I'm sure there's higher level categories. Think about the need for higher level categories. Think about, you know, just our rental stock on the lower end and stuff sitting vacant today.
We don't have a lot of category 5s out there, just to let you know.
And just to clarify, so we're talking about precedent here. We've sort of already, this would not be precedent setting, right? For a mobile home, right?
In fact, it's just getting it in harmony with existing.
Right, just, yeah,
Right.
right. So
Right,
just
the reverse, in fact.
that clarification. Okay. John Doyle. Where are you?
As a non-voting member, or should I weigh in?
Sure.
Okay. I don't know. I'm trying to listen and learn as much as I can, but just at face value, it seems pretty straightforward.
Okay. So is this are we taking a formal vote on this, or what are you looking for?
Either a consensus decision or a vote. I think a vote would probably be better.
I've heard Allison. Allison said she's in favor of Cap 4. Kelly, you got your hand up.
No, I mean, I think I just would like a little more time to think through this.
Okay.
And I hope that's amenable to folks on the board and to the neighborhood, so that we do this right. Is kind of what I'd like to think through a little bit. I apologize, between last Friday and now, I've been like testifying on bills at 11 o'clock at night and like crazy with lots of other things. And
I'll tell you right now, the next time
I want to give this the right thought.
The next time we would bring this back would not be until at least August.
Could we have another? We
Okay.
One more person that
So,
wants to-
I mean,
is that possible?
Why does it have to wait till August?
I'm not going to feel pressured into a bad decision.
And I understand that. We have 2 big hearings in May and June, and July is our retreat. So the next meeting we would be bringing anything back would be August.
So just real quick. So John Ward, where are you on this?
Yeah, I think I stated it. I want some callers on making sure we're improving the stock, because I don't want a bunch of maintenance, repairs, a new roof, a bunch of stuff that eats up the cost or eats up that benefit, so that at some point somebody comes in and they can't make the jump, right, to a new unit or whatever else. But I'm in favor of this as long as we have callers about improving the stock.
Yeah, John, I think
and some of it is we also got to remember our discussion 6 months ago during, and I don't know if I'm bringing up the Shamey, when Brittany was working through that process, and we talked about buying the property, doing it ourselves, and putting it back on the market of a max category 4. We didn't do that. So we let her buy it, and she wants to go put some improvements on it. So part of it is I think if we're gonna put a real improvement on something, I'm 100% behind this. Because I think it gets us a better product and ultimately stock that's gonna last a heck of a lot longer than a trailer home.
So what you're saying would be to move forward with the category 5, but only in the event that that a permanent structure was being put in place.
Are we really careful about what we're allowing funds to be spent on?
All right. All right, and then
And
Ward.
just to clarify, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Allison.
I don't think I'm not heels in the dirt on Cat 4. I just think the point of the program is to remain accessible, and right now, as it is, it's this swap would take it out, as Kelly pointed out of any Cat 3. And the only people who have access to it are people who actually have that money in their pocket, or ways of getting the money to do the upfront redo. Of course, on the back end, they can hopefully recoup on the resale, but it is meant for those with more means.
Well, but a bank would do this if it'd be like a construction loan, right? So you've got a property, you pay $250 for it, you've got $300 you're gonna spend on a remodel. Depending on that equity piece, the bank's gonna do it at 75% loan to cost. And you know what your value is, so it makes it a pretty easy transaction.
Mm-hmm.
That's helpful perspective for me.
All right, and then Ward, just could you just sort of restate where you are here?
Yeah, I want this to benefit the owners that are there now. I don't want it to be a way for a future owner to get a category 4 at a cheap price. And I haven't fully grokked this, but for somebody that is, if we're just changing from a category 4 to a 5 at this point without any improvements, the gain to the system is a new deed restriction. Gain to the individual owner is the ability to put more money into it for a future sale. Putting more money into it for a future sale answers John Ward's point of improving the stock. My concern is I just don't want it. I want it to benefit the current owners and not become a great buy for somebody that's buying a category 5. And the lot size for somebody to buy and redevelop it, they're going to get maximum price probably. So I don't know if I'm being articulate enough, but I want it to benefit the current owners, increase the stock, and not to become a way for somebody to buy a maximum appreciated category 4 and be able to get that at a great price in a category 5.
Right, but if somebody did get it if it was a great price in a category 5, that would indicate that they had not spent the money, and so then there would be a lot of cap room for them to spend the money to continue to improve the property up to the max of the category 5 if they were to.
Right.
Right.
It's
So
giving them
for
the
it to
ability
be a
to do
deal, you would be buying a property that's sort of that needs some work. It would be the expectation. Okay.
The value, the new owner is that they would have to really improve the quality of the home.
Right.
And that's where they get the increase in value.
And I think given this particular set of properties, that's baked in.
Yeah.
We don't have to do anything to concern that. Anybody who's buying a property is going to be having to put in a lot of work to make that property decent, and this proposal gives them the flexibility to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they probably can't.
Right.
And then we're stuck with a unusable property.
Right.
Which will still sell for max value. I mean, that's the issue.
But but
usually
nobody
there
will
would
be able to
some-
live in it.
Right, but someone will want it, and they'll pay for it.
Somebody would probably pay the max value for a category 5 at turnover. So then there's I don't know. I support this, but I have reservations.
somebody has to spend the money to get the max value though too. And ultimately, everybody said it, this is deteriorating stock. And unless we decide that we're gonna allow people to replace and improve, you're gonna continually have deteriorating stock. And we're not gonna go out and pay for it ourselves, right? We're not gonna fix it ourselves.
And I think the nuance of what Allison was saying is if somebody buys it at an appreciated category 4, they could probably turn it around and sell it for a max value category 5 because there's such a demand.
No,
No,
you cannot
Ward.
do that.
Ward, so Apcha sets the value on the Apcha sets the max sales price. So just because a category 5 may have a max sales price of $675, the value that they would be allowed to sell would be the value that they paid for it, plus their appreciation, plus any approved capital improvements that Apcha had approved. So it would not be a scenario where they could just simply command the maximum category value at sale.
I'd like to say something, if I could, please.
Sure.
All right, so my home is valued for sale right now at right around $300,000. Now, we'll use the 3% versus CPI idea, and let's just do the 3%, okay? So I get an appreciated value of roughly $9,000 a year, starting at $300,000. So it's going to take me 12 more years to reach the current Category 4 cap, okay? And that's it. I can't go any higher than that. Now, granted, if it moves to Category 5 and I do nothing at all, I still get to appreciate a little bit above that 430 or whatever
You're
it
wrong.
is. No? Okay.
You gain the appreciation no
keep
matter
going.
what. There's, the maximum price is what it is for brand new homes. The day somebody buys that brand new home at that maximum price, they're already gaining appreciation that goes over that maximum price. That maximum price that is in the deed restriction is for newly deed restricted units. So when you put a brand new home on it, if it's Category 5, and then they can, if they spend that money, value it at $675. Already, the day you close, you're gaining appreciation on it and you're over that maximum price. If you continue owning your place and the maximum price didn't move, whatever your maximum price is at the time you sell with your approved capital improvements, you get to sell it for that. If it's over the maximum Category 4, which we have product out there that's over their category already, that's what you can sell it for. Okay, so it's not like in how many years you're actually at that, because for one thing, we readdress that every single year anyway, the sales price and the maximum sales prices. But no, I know a lot of people think that it's that maximum sales price in our regulations is for newly deed restricted units. That's where things start. Where yours started was at a certain level, and then it appreciates at 3% or CPI, whichever is less. Does that make
Endlessly,
sense?
that'll never stop.
So let me just, I guess I just would ask you the question. So, I'm hearing support for, something that builds housing stock, helps the current owners. If this were to be modified to say, we would allow you to go to Category 5 upon replacement of the existing unit, is that something that would be acceptable?
That would help.
Okay.
This is what I wanted to come up here and speak about this, because I hear a lot of valid questions and concerns. And I think, for example, John was saying, like, people that will not put in or replace their homes, they shouldn't really don't fix up something that's going to have to be replaced. And I agree with that as well. But for someone that's going to live there for another 20 years, we're going to have to put money into it to make it more, like the furnace, for example, that's a big part of a home. I hope that money we can get back. We could probably get it back even if it was a category 4.
If it's energy efficient.
If it's yes, and we would all do that.
But that wouldn't be subject if it was an energy efficiency and you're on a new deed restriction. That wouldn't be subject to the 10%.
That doesn't need the category 5.
Right?
Yes,
Right.
that doesn't need the category 5. The category 5 would only be needed for like huge improvements or replacement. But with that, you have to really look at the numbers. Because, for example, Brittany actually has looked into it, and she actually got prices because she's getting ready to do this work. And besides the $250 that she paid for the property and the house that she can't live in, just to prepare the grounds, the foundation, if she wants to put a foundation, which you would want to have a foundation under a nice new home, it's another $250. That brings it up to $500,000 already. Then she's got $300,000 minimum to replace the home. So she's up to like $800,000. Now we are talking about category 5 that you guys are not even allowing us to go there, or maybe you might. I'm not sure. But we are talking about $800,000,
right.
Not $650. And other people in the neighborhood have paid more than $250. They paid more, like $375 for their home. So, for any person that once lived here or was born here or lived here and they want to live here for the next 40 years, to put in that kind of money and lose $200,000, $300,000, you guys are asking a lot from somebody that just works a normal job. Like, we don't have that kind of money to put into.
Right.
I would like to also address the category issue that, some people are bringing up that they want to keep it to category 4 or category 3. Truthfully, with the wages in Aspen these days, it's really hard for someone to find people that would want, would want to rent or buy in category 2 or 3 because people are making more money these days. And these are freestanding houses that need more maintenance. So they need people that make more money. They do need people that will be in higher categories. And I'm sorry if, the people that want to keep the categories down to like 3 and 4, I think that's a different project, maybe a Burlingame project, maybe a different type of construction. But for somebody to buy into a freestanding house and to be expected to keep up with the maintenance of that, they need to be making more money. So they need to be in a category 5 or 6 or or whatever. And that's all I wanted to say.
The concern that Apcha has is that a lot of the older deed restrictions there do not require the same type of upkeep or requirements for somebody to do something when they go to sell.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't force
Right.
the seller to do certain things that they should do.
Sure.
We're stuck with their old deed restriction.
Right.
By putting a new deed restriction on it, it puts it makes them have to do something or provide some type of credit when they do go to sell. Or it'll allow them the funds to do the stuff before they go to sell. And then we won't get people who are buying because that is their last choice that constantly complain because they couldn't get things done that should have been done because we could not require the seller at that point in time to do the work. And then we've ran into this with a
Right.
couple of the owners there that we've sold in the past, I would say 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, so I guess, I don't know if I really heard an answer. So if this were modified to be only for replacement of the existing structure,
It would not be enough
It's not
for,
enough.
We're
I'm
already maxed out where we are right now.
even for improvements, that would be great for improvements.
Right.
But we are talking about picking this problem up in 20 years again because they're going to be the same homes that they were 30 years ago.
right? So
So it's unfortunate, but I have to bring that up because I don't have $200,000 extra to put into and lose.
Right, and
when
I think the concern from this board is that if we move to a category 5 and there are significant funds put into properties which are, depreciate, right? They're not, they're mobile homes and they have a finite life. I think the concern is that in 10, 20 years, are we not back in or maybe even less, back here in the same problem, but now we have an even higher valued property, right? And so then now it's move it from 675
and it's not fair
to, move it
to the next person that buys into it.
But everything's increasing across the board. So by not making this move, it's a deterrent across the board. We're willing to put, but half a dozen owners that are willing to put our money into it and never get it back. We're willing to do this. And this is the very least step to make that happen. We're going to lose money. This is not a win-win. This is a benefit to the program by having owners most of us are newly owners in the last 5 years. We're willing to put money in and replace these homes. But I'm not going to put $300,000 of my own money into what you're saying needs to stay at category 4, and then I'm putting
that's not even
saying you have to wait. I can't become category 5 until I replace the home.
No,
I'm not going to make that investment.
Let me clarify. So if we were to modify this and grant a deed restriction 4 to 5 now, but only for properties that were replacing the unit, right? So not for just improvements and maintenance, but if you're actually replacing the structure, and so if you wanted to do that, right, you could sign the new deed restriction now, you could replace the property now, you could benefit from it, we would grant the deed restriction. Is that acceptable? Was more what I was getting at, versus this is just a move from a category 4 to a 5, and this would allow continued improvements on the existing structures.
But I don't see why that's still not okay. Like, if we get category 5 and we're only getting money back for the money we put in it, because that's how the Apcha program is created and structured, how is it? I don't see how that's not a benefit all around to begin with. Like, even if it is just a roof, or we might have to replace plumbing. Like, I get the comments that, yes, we're all responsible for putting money into our places and keeping them at a certain level. And I think to date, we've proven that. We've already put in $150,000 to $100,000 into our places already, and we're not getting that money back. See what I'm saying? We're already past that point. So to incentivize us, as Steve keeps saying, we need that incentive. Right now, I won't put another penny into our place because we've already maxed out where we are. Every penny we put into it now is out of our pocket. So by giving us the incentivization of turning it to category 5, now that's going to say, hey, I might consider replacing it, and I might consider putting in a new furnace and plumbing, but I'm not going to do that without that incentive. Because right now, why we're sitting here is because we're already maxed out. We're already putting money into these places that we're never going to see again.
Right.
And if I could make a comment, in a perfect world, yes, most of these homes or all the homes should be replaced. But the reality is that some homes, the people can't afford to do that, the current owners, and their plan to live, regardless of any other circumstance, they plan to live there still a very long time. And they're not going to put a substantial amount of money in there to make it a livable place. We want our employees, we want to keep the price as low as possible, but the reality is that everything is going up, and they can't afford to put substantial amount of money into the older place to make it more livable and up to code and those sorts of things, unless it can go to category 4, because when these people bought it, they bought a place that had all kinds of deferred maintenance, and they used up their 10% capital improvements when they bought it. Mm-hmm. So from day one when they moved in, they had nowhere to go as far as capital improvement and getting that back. So there's nothing there for them no reason for them to improve it, and they can't afford to move. They're not moving for some of the people. So yes, it would be nice to have a new home on there, but unless some entity comes up and subsidizes all these people to put in a new home, like we've seen letters to the editor and other things, unless there's some subsidy, some people will never put a new home. Even new buyers might not put in a new home. And I don't see subsidies coming from anywhere anytime soon. So the only solution, it seems to me, is to allow those people that can't afford, that will be there a while, that can't afford the new home, to allow them to improve that place and make it more livable down the road. So that's my 2 cents on that.
But that goes to what's an improvement?
John, can I interject?
Sorry.
You've asked, John, you've circled back on that a couple times. We do have a very robust definition of the capital improvements, which we can go in. It's 10% for capital improvements, but safety is exempted from that, and a couple other things. So we do have a very clear definition. And if you want us to bring back to the board and walk you through that, happy to do it. But Apcha feels very comfortable from staff level that we know what it is, and it's very, very nicely defined. So, if we want to have a separate discussion on that, that's great. But capital improvements, we know what they are. We have a good discussion when people come in to talk to us about it, and there are exemptions for life and safety. Does that answer your question?
Carson?
Yes, Ward.
Carson, could you please, when people from the public are addressing the board, that they identify themselves? I'd like to have my journal. I want to record who said what. And
okay.
There's some people that have been speaking that haven't identified themselves. Thank you.
Thanks, Ward. Could you just quickly...
My name is Monica Voss.
Okay, Monica.
And Julie Hardman.
Thank you, Julie.
And Steve Arthur.
Steve, and then Barry, you've identified yourself. Okay. And then let's see. All right, let's go to Kelly and Allison.
It looks like Amy Simon, who I think is city staff. I don't know if she's joining as city staff or
Probably a resident.
I'm not, I'm a resident.
Amy's on.
So Carson, I'm not the chair, so I'll let Carson
Amy,
decide.
Amy, go ahead.
Thank you. I am a resident of the street and I do work for the city, and I very much want to support something that's important here. This is a really difficult circumstance. The condition of these homes has become really unsustainable, I think, for a lot of owners, and I want them to be able to be more comfortable and less fearful of how they're going to maintain their homes. So I do not want to take this conversation off track at all. I simply wanted to point out that I think moving to Category 5 and trying to create some room for someone to replace the home is only one way to go about the problem. It is I replaced my home 13 years ago. It was incredibly difficult. The financing of it has been really dramatically affected me. It's expensive to build a home here. It is expensive to maintain a single family home here. This isn't a great outcome for everyone. It's an outcome that will help some. And I hope you move forward with it, because particularly for Unit 16, something needs to be done. So I don't want to stop you from that path. But I have been really trying to talk to the neighborhood about other alternatives, for instance, putting duplexes on these sites when they're redeveloped, so that the cost of replacement could be shared between two homeowners, and maybe be done within the Category 4 limits. And there's, I realize that's a multi-step process and a big conversation, but, these sites could be more dense, and we need housing units. And I just hope that whatever you do tonight, and again, I'm not trying to stop you, that there's more creative conversation ahead about other ways to do this, because not everyone wants a $650,000 mortgage. That sounds quite unaffordable to me. So that's my comment, and I support you trying to do what you can to help here.
Thanks, Amy. Kelly.
I'm glad Amy went before me, because I guess what I was wondering is, is what they really need a change in category or a larger cushion to add on top, right? Like a larger recoupable expenditures. Is that is that one way to think through this?
That's
You
creating
know,
a
similarly
precedent.
to how we have our cap on a total repair, is this something for mobile homes? Do we increase that cap, you know, based on the type of repair that's been done, or, you know, how, you know, something from 100% for replacement, and then that depreciates over time, similarly to our capital improvements now. You know, so I guess that's why I just really continue to try to think through this, because there's no way that whatever we do here is not going to be requested. You know, I don't know if all of our Woody Creek homes are Category 5 or not, but
They are.
All
property
okay, that's
is.
helpful.
Yeah, and I
understand.
think Cindy had just mentioned that we don't have anything currently like that in place, and so that would be setting precedent. Allison?
Don't we have to sign the new deed restriction and get the additional 10%?
Yes, actually, everybody who's owned their home for at least 10 years has that option right now. They can go under a brand-new deed restriction, and they would get additional capital improvements based on the value at the time they go under the deed restriction. Anything that's used for safety, water conservation, energy conservation is outside the 10% cap. All the capital improvements and that also depreciate down. But any owner who's owned their property for at least 10 years has that option right now.
Would that happen every 10 years?
No.
So every 10 years
No.
because you depreciate?
Right now, because we have a really good deed restriction right now, we would like everybody to kind of go under the same deed restriction. So it's an incentive to get people who've owned for over 10 years under basically the same type of deed restriction.
So I feel like in the long term, for the sake of long term, solving the problem, it would be raising the category so that people can actually replace their homes, and raising it to Category 5 would also help the people that don't want to replace their homes to be able to recoup the money that they're going to put into, besides, you know, the 10% that, you know, like because those guys probably are able to get the 10%. The people that don't want to replace their homes. But as I said, for someone that wants to replace their homes, it's actually more than $650,000.
Allison?
I'm certainly leaning toward a little more mulling over on this, again, you know, from the packet to this discussion and without a second vote. And if we can't find a half hour until August, then 2 months from now. But, you know, the concerns I'm hearing from Steve and Julie are program-wide. Those concerns are not specific to the Smuggler Run. The fact that people aren't getting back what it costs to maintain homes in Aspen is an Apcha issue. I do think what is unique about this, as you've mentioned, Carson, is the kind of inherent knowledge that the homes that were there have a lifespan in a way that a lot of the rest of our stock doesn't. So in that case, I do think that the piecemeal modification as these are replaced makes a lot of sense to me. And you know, I would love to hear more thoughts from Amy and more thoughts that come up. I think that this is a good thing, and I think that we should try and move it forward. I don't know that I'm prepared to say that this is the perfect proposal today.
Allison, what are your thoughts on moving forward with the category change for the current owner if the property is going to be replaced now, and then we could at a later date discuss the change to anything for properties not being replaced? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I guess I kind of already thought that something had been worked out on 16. I think that's okay, but like I don't think it's the final. I don't know that in my head I know that that's the final solution. Instead of it's that for this HOA there's a new deed restriction where there is that higher cap, but we leave it at 4. Where there's other options for other ways of building your way out of it, or selling it at the price of the improvements to the next seller, but that seller is still under a cap for it. You know, I understand wanting to move this forward, and I support that. I just don't know that, again, like today, right now, I can say that we've already found the best proposal.
Okay, I mean, I'm hearing a split. Ward, what are your thoughts?
I would support your proposal with future revisiting this for people that are not replacing their units. But if somebody is going to be replacing their unit now, I'd feel comfortable allowing them to move up to category 5 and then revisiting this for people that try to find a right solution. We've already talked about grant money for capital improvements or improvements. So for somebody that wants, yeah, I guess in short, I support your suggestion, Carson.
Okay. So two positions to table, and then John, where do you stand? You.
Well, I'm probably talk too much, but I'm supportive of your motion. But I don't like the piecemeal idea. I like to come to a resolution. I don't know if there's a perfect answer for everything, but ultimately, your motion gets to what I was thinking about: getting an improved structure, right? Improving the stock, getting something a little more permanent. You know, maintenance is maintenance to me, and you know, you buy these things and you got to do it. And I know it's tough because people are stretching to get into things, but this you know, on 16 it gets what I believe is important, and that's getting to a kind of a more permanent structure that's going to certainly weather 40 plus years,
right,
versus a depreciating asset.
Can I suggest something? I have one suggestion,
Sure.
just because everyone is kind of like, we're in.
Could you just real quick for
Monica
Ward.
Voss.
Monica, thank you, Monica.
Legitimately worried about, I agree with John, for someone to keep putting money into it and then, raising the prices of the house, it's not really a solution. If somebody wants to replace their home and the groundwork before the home even gets on there is $250,000. Would there be any possibility that Apcha or the City of Aspen would be able to give us grants to cover at least that cost, so then we can keep the houses, the prices lower? Because that price wouldn't.
What does that mean?
So right now,
Making a home for 4,000 feet, and they're not spending $250,000 on a foundation.
Okay, so right now, there is no foundation under these houses. If you want to put another house on there, it's going to be a modular home that is you're going to be in the same position in 30, 40 years as you are right now with our home. Or we can have an actual foundation that will support a house better, and then you can do the improvements that you need to do to a house.
All the houses sit on cinder blocks now.
Right now, they're on cinder blocks. So, I mean, these are things that maybe you guys don't know, because we actually looked into it because we want to do it. We want to do it, but who's going to, eat the $200,000, $300,000 extra on top of the $650,000?
The foundation doesn't cost that. I'm doing stuff down at Rifle for $30,000. I mean, I know a foundation doesn't cost $250,000.
So it's not just the foundation; it's the whole site work because it's on a Superfund site, because you have the soil mitigation, because it's in Aspen. Things are more expensive. I have a quote for the modular home that Tom and I are looking, because we don't want to put another trailer. We would like to build something that will stand the test of time. That is for us, we care about this community, and we want to do and leave behind, after we leave, something that's better than, for the next person than what we inherited. But it does cost that, and our quote is through Clayton Homes. If you want to do a foundation in the Aspen Trailer Park. If you want to replace with another trailer, your baseline trailer is $150,000, and your site work that you still need to remove the trailer, to deal with it, to put it in the dump, it's another $150,000 for a baseline of $300,000 for just a new trailer. That again, in 20 years, 30 years, depending on who's taking care of the home, everyone might be talking about the situation again. And obviously, I don't know that we can deem if people put trailers or put modular homes or put stick builds, but it's expensive, the site work, even just to put another trailer. And the permitting.
Permitting also is very expensive. But if we could get help with that, and if you guys want to do the site work yourself, or like the Apcha or the city, and then we just come in and put the home on top of it, that could be a solution as well to keep the cost lower.
I think you bring up a good point.
With an approved house. You have to approve the house that we're going to put on there.
With the cinder blocks, I think where the hesitation is, you talk about houses on cinder blocks today.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm hearing from the board, the hesitation is to continue to put, hundreds of thousands of dollars into a property that is sitting on cinder blocks, right? And so
I agree.
I think what we're looking at right now is for, if you're replacing it, we would look at, moving to that category 5, and then try and get a better understanding of the properties that do have existing capital improvements that would like to have the move from a category 4 to a category 5, and then we can, the board can bring that back, for discussion at a later date. I think is kind of what I'm hearing from.
Yes, and I agree with all of it. Is my only objection is that I'm not sure if you realize that putting doing it right, it would cost more than $650,000. So who's going to help us?
I understand.
Do that, and then that home is going to go back to Apcha. It's not. We are not taking it with us.
Right. I fully understand.
That's my
personally, I will tell you, I have put well in excess of anything that I can recoup into my personal home, and I do that because I want to live in a nice house.
Sure.
And sounds like some of you have done the same. And that's a decision that that I made. So. And
we would commit to keeping up that place.
But we also have we also know what we bought into, and we have maximum values within the system, and if we're going to spend above that, again, that's a decision that we have to make. So.
Yes.
I think we're kind of nearing a conclusion on this. Kelly, do you want to jump in here?
I just want to flag a process thought here, because this is an in-depth conversation. This is a very serious, complicated conversation about how Apcha is entering into and asking owners to enter into an understanding of stipulation of terms via their deed restriction about their units. And I'm very uncomfortable with this happening just through direction to staff. I don't think that it creates a record for us. I don't think that it articulates to everyone else in the Apcha system as to why this is a unique situation. To me, this is very much something that needs to be through a formal resolution that the board adopts. Personally, because I just, this really comes up, puts us in a situation of well, you did it for these guys, and there's no formal thing to show other people, well, this is why, and these are our reasons, and this was the vote, and all of that. So I just think that we should have better, more formal process in this conversation. And that's not because I want to buy extra time to think this over and think more creatively. Yes, I want that, but separate from that, I think that this really merits an approach that's more formal than just giving staff direction. Thank you.
Okay.
And we can bring back a resolution.
Can we write a motion?
Okay, I'm going to make a proposal here, I'm going to, I guess, we'll just take a vote on it. So I would make a motion that we move this forward with I think, Kelly, I think you make a good point. With a formal process, just a formal resolution here at our next meeting, right, not delaying this to August, for moving forward with this program of a change from a Category 4 to a Category 5 for any owner who is replacing the property. And then with that understanding that at a future meeting, we would revisit the change from a Category 4 to a Category 5 for owners who are not replacing their units. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the motion. Is there a
I'll
second? A second from Ward? Okay, and it's a roll call vote.
Okay. Carson?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes, I will vote to move this to further discussion. Thank you.
And Ward?
Yes.
Is that it?
Yes.
That
That is it.
Ward.
The motion
And John,
is approved.
John, thank you, John.
Our hybrid name.
I knew I forgot somebody.
So, I mean, I think that we can put, this as a more formal resolution in our next agenda. That should be relatively straightforward. Within that motion, we can outline the specifics of this, why this does not set a precedent, how this brings us in line with other existing properties that are specific to mobile home properties. This is not something that we're looking at for townhomes, condos, other HOAs. This is a unique scenario that we're looking to move forward to bring us in line with kind of some of the other existing properties. So, and we'll do that, like I said, we'll do that piece at our next meeting. And I think that's something that we can do. So, I think that's it.
I do have a
Get your
question.
approval
Can I,
about that.
can I,
Go ahead. Sorry.
is there a way that we can help the board understand what we would have to go through like putting numbers down? Maybe they can have suggestions if they think that our numbers don't add up, but what we find in the valley to replace the home for the next meeting, so we are all better prepared. We are looking at the same numbers. So we can come to a
Just to let you
solution,
know, this
hopefully.
resolution would probably be a consent item.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It would be a consent
Yeah, I mean,
item. We wouldn't ask for public comment on it.
Ward, do
Okay,
you
but
have?
would we be able to maybe send something in so, for the questions that were brought up?
Can I put something in the packet?
I mean,
You can always
we
email
wanna
me.
I just
help
don't know
you
what-
guys understand our situation, and I think that's important
Sure.
to make a good decision about where we.
Yeah, I mean, I think Allison's point, I mean, you're welcome to email the board if you want to put something together of,
Okay.
You're welcome to.
You can email me and I'll make sure to get it to
Yeah.
everybody.
Wonderful.
Ward?
Yeah, thank you to all the smuggler homeowners that came and brought this to our attention, articulated their needs. We did have a motion and a vote, and it carried. So it's not a public hearing. So I think that the homeowners there certainly know where we are, our intentions are, but I'd like to move adjournment.
Thank you, Ward. With that, I will take Ward's motion to adjourn.
Did Ward make a
second.
motion to adjourn?
Yes, he did.
And seconded?
I'll second it.
Allison seconds.
Allison? Okay. Carson?
Yes.
John Ward?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Meeting is adjourned, 6:10. Thank you.
Nice.